ولا تقبضها عما افترض الله عليها ولكن توقرها بقبضها عن كثير مما لا يحل لها وبسطها إلى كثير مما ليس عليها، فإذا هي قد عقلت شرفت في العاجل ووجب لها حسن الثواب من الله في الآجل.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Ahlulbayt Live, a weekly show where we have lively discussions on religious and social affairs. I'm your host Neil Nasser once again, and it's my honor today to be joined by two amazing guests. First and foremost, we have Sister Zainab Al-Hariri and Brother Maitham Ridha, true servants of our community, true servants of the Ahlulbayt alayhim salam. Assalamu alaikum to you both. MashaAllah. Thank you so much for joining us, both of you. Really interesting story, a really interesting journey that we're going to be going through on tonight's show, our dear viewers. So our topic today, our title, 40 Years of Silence, a journey into Iraq's dark history. We're going to explore Iraq during Saddam's time and uncover some of the painful truths from those that were most affected. The story is unreal, and we want to share this story or part of this story with you tonight. Sister Zainab has uncovered some truths about her past and some of the tyranny and oppression that went on and affected her life, inshallah. So as we go through tonight's show, we're going to be asking some very personal questions, and there's a reason behind it, because the dear sister is creating a documentary which needs our support and our help, and it really is poignant that we get this material out and completed. Brother Maitham is the director of this documentary, and just in a moment we're going to play you a very short teaser, inshallah, of this amazing documentary, and you will see the rationale and the reasons behind it, and throughout tonight's show you'll get some understanding of why the sister has chosen to make this journey and why Brother Maitham has decided to take on this project. I personally am so invested in helping and supporting as best we can, and I know you, the dear lovers of the Ahlulbayt alayhim salam, dear Muslims, dear human beings that are watching this show right now, inshallah, that will feel it in your hearts and want to give and pledge whatever you can, inshallah ta'ala. So with that being said, we may just be ready to play the teaser if we can have that on the screen. Okay, no problem at all. So what we'll do is we'll start off. Sister Zainab, what really intrigues me to start off with is, why did you want to make this documentary? What brought it to your radar that you wanted to do this?
Well, assalamu alaikum, and thank you very much, Brother Neil, for hosting us, me and Maitham, on your show. And so you will see the teaser and you will have more understanding of this project. So I was 6 years old when my father disappeared from my life. We didn't know why, he just disappeared, and every time I asked about him, I was shushed, and no one would give me any answers. And then suddenly we were harassed and taken to interrogation in the middle of the night, and again, every time and then we were told to be ashamed of your father. So every time I asked, I was shushed again. So I had so many questions, like, what did my father do to disappear suddenly and to make those people so angry with him and with us? So for a long time, I kept having these questions. Like my father, the father that I remember, he was very kind, very gentle. He was a doctor. He used to take me with him to his clinic, and he used to take me with him to his hospital. And he taught me how to be good with people as well. So for years, I had these questions and no answers until I decided to go on this journey. So that's what made me do this journey.
Can you remember the emotion, the feeling at that time for yourself when you didn't have any answers, you were just being shushed all the time? What were you going through that transition?
Yes, of course, yes. For years, it was like, especially at the beginning, first, we didn't know where he was. He didn't come on the day that he was supposed to come. Mm-hmm. He didn't come. And then every time we asked, yes, he's coming. Yes, he's coming. And then I remember my mom was like happy and getting things ready for him. We knew he was in prison, but we didn't know why. And then they have this mental torture as well. They keep saying, yes, he's coming out in a couple of days. And then they put us on edge, and suddenly, no, they called and they said, no, he was executed. And everything from that moment until 10 years after, before we fled Iraq, it was terror. We were scared. So many knocking on the door, so many times we were taken to interrogation. Our house was gone. That's it. You're not going back to your house. That house is not for you anymore. We're taking this house because you are the family of the traitor. We didn't know why and what did he do. But I do remember that my mom was only 23 at that time. I had my brother who was 7 years old. I was 6, and my other brother was 1 year and a half. So can you imagine a young woman with 3 children taking in the middle of the night, putting in a car to go for interrogation and not knowing why? And those men were brutal. Those men were bad men. So I do remember all this time, and I do remember holding on my mom's leg and looking into this dark room, yellow light, with we had to sit there all night, and then we were taken to another place in the morning. So it was just from one thing to another that you can never forget. Not only that, all this, and then I don't have my father anymore. So it was things built up inside me. I asked so many questions. Where is he? Why did he go? How come he's not back? And again, as I said, we were shushed to silence every time we asked anything.
I can't even, comprehend what you were going through at that time and what you're carrying to this day. And, it helps to give some context as to why you wanted to make this documentary. I think this is a great time to pause and just show our viewers the teaser trailer of the documentary that's been created so far. So, dear viewers, please do watch this intently, inshallah, and allow it to soften your hearts.
That's why I want to go on this journey. I want to discover why I was deprived from my father. Why did he try to assassinate Saddam Hussein? How his plot was foiled, and how was he captured, tortured, and executed? We were shushed to silence every time we asked any question. It's a very important journey for me. I would say a healing journey, but I don't know if I'm going to be healed. I do have this little Zainab has been nudging and killing me. I have to take this little girl with me and go and find out what happened. And I can't stop thinking about who I'm leaving behind. My husband, forced to accept my departure. I don't know how my son is going to cope without me while I'm gone. My first grandson, he's so attached to me. My long supportive friends, and I'm leaving my life behind. I can't stop thinking about it. it's childhood trauma. That something happens to a child, doesn't know why, but it affects their life. It affected us.
بس كل واحد يقف بوجه الثورة يصير 1000، يصير 2000، 10,000 أقصقص رؤوسهم بدون ما ترجف شعرة واحدة مني.
دي مشاهدة وفاة.
دخلوا بهاي الانفراد من ذولا من حيث المبدأ أؤمن وبإصرار أن هذه الطريقة 100% صحيحة تناسب ذاك الوقت.
عافنا يجي احنا نتهجون ونتأذى كان صحيح؟
بعد الآن ما نرحم. اطلع اطلع روح يلا.
يعني شنو صار؟
يعني ليلة الإعدام اللي صارت
ما اعتقد يطلع فد شيء مناسب. لا التصرفات هاي ما تعجبني. سديها كلها. سدها كلها.
يعني هذا آخر واحد شاف أبويا، آخر واحد شافه عايش، يعني آخر واحد اللي لزمه، يعني ما انطاني فد معلومات بيها خير.
I think I'm angry with him because I love him. And because I missed him.
So much pain, so much emotion, so much tragedy, so many questions that needed to be asked. This is the reasons why this documentary will surface, inshallah, and this story will be told far and wide. Brother Mathan, if I could come to you, please, if you don't mind, what made you take on this story as a director and a producer?
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
So yeah, I grew up around the corner, literally from Zainab in Baghdad, in the neighborhood of Karada, and you know, our families were friends, and it wasn't really until I mean, you know, when we left Iraq, you know, the fear and the persecution was starting, and I ended up losing 4 of my uncles to the former regime. But it was many years later that I met Zainab in London, and I just finished writing this body of work called Iraqi Tales at the National Film School. I made a couple of films from that, and kind of Zainab got in touch, told me about the story of her dad and her journey, and I felt very much compelled to get involved with her on this story, because I felt it somehow kind of resonated with our generation. We all have lost family and relatives, and we all felt that fear. And as children, I think as a child, you kind of feel, you know that there are certain things you don't say in front of certain strangers. So for me, it was a story that resonated on very much a personal level. And at that time as well, I'd just been back to Iraq working on another film, and Zainab was an editor, so we started collaborating together. Whilst writing this particular project, we were working on another film called Ali and His Miracle Sheep that we worked on together, me as producer director and Zainab as an editor on that one. And that ended up doing very well. I ended up winning at Sheffield Doc Fest. It won the Best Film Award in the UK competition, and then it ended up going to about 40 other festivals and winning around about 20 awards and prizes. So it was something that, you know, that team that we put together for Ali and His Miracle Sheep, that we felt like, okay, this is actually a very good project for us to get involved with. And again, going back to Iraq, and again telling these stories that are, I think, very, very particular to our Iraqi experience.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with you. I mean, it's poignant at this time. We travel to Iraq now with no fear. We do our ziyarats in safe hands, but a lot of us, my generation and younger, we don't know what happened during that time. So bringing this to the forefront, I think it's kudos to yourself for actually taking on a project like this. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Coming back to you, Sister Zainab, how did you discover that your father had been executed? What was the story leading up to that?
Well, we knew he was executed. We were lucky at that time that we received his body and we were able to bury him. Of course, we were forced to. They put conditions on us, like no funeral, no people gathering. Only one car goes and bury the body. If we see 2 cars or more people, we will prosecute you. We will be watching your house if people come to your house, if we hear any crying or shouting or anything any morning. So it was all shush. But as I said, we didn't know why all this. So it wasn't until like 10 years later, when we fled Iraq in very dark nights, we came to the UK, we seek shelter in the UK. And here in London, when the Iraqi community heard about the family of Dr. Ghazi arrived in the UK, in London, they were like coming to us, oh, you're the family of the hero, you're the family of the martyr, you're the family of the good man. And I was always like wondering why all this, because he was only 28. He wasn't even 28 when he was executed. And I wondered why people always remembered him that much. And then they said, we were told that he tried to assassinate Saddam Hussein, and but somehow his plot was uncovered. So he was captured, tortured, and executed. And then it was since then, I discovered that. I asked my mom, she said no, she didn't know about it because it was such a secretive operation. So no one knew about it, only the people who were supposed to do it. So that ended with him not successful assassinating Saddam Hussein, and with his family facing a very heavy consequence until we fled Iraq.
What really intrigues me with so much, emotion, trauma that's sitting quite deep within you, deciding to kind of unleash this and uncover it, almost taking the cap off this emotion. How did you decide to go on with this film and go on with this journey? At what point in your life did you say, I need to tell this story? But obviously going through this journey is very painful for you as well.
Yeah, well, I always had this inside me, that little girl who kept nudging and pushing me to go and discover why I was deprived from my father. So what exactly he did and what made him do what he did. I know what he did was such an honorable thing, and I know he wanted the best for his family and for his nation. But for me to have my father taken away from me, it was always inside me. That little girl stayed inside me. But it wasn't until when I got married, I had my children, and I saw the love between my husband and my children, and I thought, this is what I missed all these years. So this is what I want to do, and I really want to find answers and closure to the questions that I have. So, and also like give peace to this little girl. Finally, give peace to this little girl. So I decided to finally break this shackle, and because I was always told, let the past rest, but that past never let me rest. So I thought, okay, I can't let the past rest, and I have to go on this journey. And of course, with the support of my husband and my children, I was able to start this journey. It's not easy, and still not easy, because so far whatever we did, it was very difficult. And the next part is going to be maybe even more difficult than when we go to Iraq and we shoot in Iraq, in Abu Ghraib prison, where we're going there and we're going to different places that where he was. And so at Abu Ghraib, where he was executed, and he spent his last moments there. So I think that's going to be a bit of like emotional, like difficult, but yeah, it's a journey that I have to take. I decided to take it, so I have to take it. It's like a healing journey for me, but I really hope that it will give me a closure to all these years and all my questions.
Yeah, you can look at it from that point of view. Obviously, it's very painful for you to go through this, open up that can of worms almost, but hopefully, inshallah, that this journey will give you some closure. In some ways, it could be quite therapeutic to answer some of these questions that have been playing on your mind for the last 40 years. And with your support network around you, your beautiful family, and we saw your grandchild as well there, inshallah, they'll be able to lift your spirits. I want to come to Maytham as well, because you know, Maytham's been playing a big part in this. Maytham, you're filming this, you're directing this, producing this as well with your team. And you mentioned that there's something that you went through as well and you experienced in Iraq. Has this brought anything out for yourself? Has it brought any sort of emotion, pain, rekindled any pains for you? Actually, Maytham, I'm just going to pause you there because we have a live caller on the line. I'm just going to go to the caller. Assalamu alaikum, dear caller. Welcome to the live show.
Assalamu alaikum, yeah. Maybe I tuned in and I was watching it. I was saying, since Saddam Hussein has been killed, obviously, but don't you think it's been worse though? The country's all destroyed. It's orphans now. They have all this kind of bombs everywhere when the people are walking. Sorry, a wee cough there. I've got a bad cough. When people walk to Aberdeen for the walk, sometimes you used to get bombs everywhere. So don't you think it's worse since then? And I wanted to say to the sister, obviously it's sad what she went through with her dad's story and everything. But then when the Lord created us, we're all going to go through a test. This world is always going to be where people will corrupt and dictate, but it's up to us to survive the world. And the real justice is when Allah's going to judge everybody, because when we believe in Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, his progeny, the family, they went through a lot of traumas, but what are they waiting for? Judgment Day. So should we not just leave it for Judgment Day? But share our stories, but still it's Judgment Day is going to be the answer. Anyway, assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Thank you so much, and you make some great points there. I think, yes, to a degree, as I was saying, you know, we go for our ziyarats very safely now. We don't really consider the regime that Saddam caused on the Iraqi community, people around him, and throughout that whole regime. But yeah, you're right in saying, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the greatest of judges, and, you know, there will be retribution for that. We all go through tests in life, and, you know, this is one of these tests, and we all have our different struggles, jihad, etc. throughout. But you make some great points, dear sister. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for watching. Just going back to you, Maytham, my question before the caller came in. So it was about, you're doing all this producing, you're directing this, and you've had pains, you've had struggles as well. Is it bringing back some memories, repressing some emotion for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, it's a story of Zainab and her journey to find out what happened to her father and why her father left her as a child. But on the other hand, it's actually a story of a whole nation. It's a whole generation. And I guess us to be able to go back and document and to tell the story of that time, it's important because we have a whole generation now who either were children under Saddam and, you know, their memories of sweet little memories, and or they weren't born, and so, you know, they look on. There is actually I suppose, a percentage of the population now who's looking back upon that time with a little through rose-tinted spectacles, really. And for us to be able to tell the story of what we witnessed, I think it's important. It's important for the person telling the story. I think there is, like you said, a process of catharsis in telling a story and talking about the experience. But then there's also a process of documenting what a whole nation went through, and so those are the sort of underlayers of the story. You know, we look into the archive of that time. We look into the world as experienced by Iraqis at that time, and this was for us. This is a very important thing to happen. You know, telling stories is itself a process of, you know, understanding, accepting, perhaps healing, and it's interesting because actually we kind of, with the last few films I've been going back to make, I've made a very I was very determined to use local Iraqi crew as much as possible. Mm-hmm. And we fly in, we come in from, we're expats, we go into Iraq, but the idea is also to help some of the younger Iraqis who want to learn about how we make films in the West and learn some skills from us. And also they have a lot to add. There's a sort of an energy and a vitality to them as well. And I think that period of time, we've seen it in terms of films about the war. We've seen it in terms of Hollywood films we're talking about, but rarely have we heard these stories from the perspective of Iraqis who lived under that time. So I think it's an important one. The other thing is where it resonated. I mean, we've kind of presented this at different stages of development, and it has resonated with people who've gone through similar types of persecution under dictatorships in other countries. Mm-hmm. So you find people, for example, in South America who sort of, we can relate to this because we went through a similar experience under our own dictator. Yeah. So although this is a story of one little girl called Zainab who's now going back as an adult to uncover that history, there's also something that is very universal about a girl who's lost her father under a tyrannical regime. Mm-hmm. So there is this sort of potential for the story to cross over and touch people who are not Iraqi, who have had a different experience themselves as audience. I'm talking. Yeah.
It does. I'm sure the story brings out a lot of humaneness in people, and I'm sure people can relate to it in so many different ways across the globe. There's oppression and injustice, every corner of the globe, and this really does bring it out. Going back to you, Sister Zainab, when you started this kind of project, your focus may have just been on your story, but did you ever foresee that this would be opening up so many different avenues and relating to so many different people?
Well, yes, because I thought if I do this journey and open this door, I'm sure there are so many other Zainabs or Mohammeds, my brother, who suffered how we suffered, but they kept it in all these years. Mm-hmm. And maybe they didn't have the courage to talk about it because they thought, that's it happened, let's forget it, and we're living our life now and all this. But I look at it from like a childhood trauma perspective, and childhood trauma is very difficult to heal, and I do want to help other Zainabs and other Mohammeds and do this journey and maybe help them. We're even thinking also of doing an impact campaign to go with this documentary, and I'm sure like Maytham can talk about it more in more details. But it's something that I want to reach to all the Iraqis, not only the Iraqis, but people everywhere else, that they suffered from childhood and faced something difficult, but it's not being addressed. And it's okay to address it. It's okay to talk about it. Personally, since we started this journey and since we started talking about it, me, Maytham, and with others, and also also talking about it in details, and Maytham keeps asking me questions and bringing up so much varied memories. It made me feel like I can talk about it more.
Yeah.
Now I can talk about it without being emotional. I used to, and ask Maytham, every time I talk about this subject, I get so emotional. And also, even when we went on development lab, the head of the development lab, and she was, when we were having this decision makers meeting, and when I talked, I didn't cry, and she was saying to them, "That's so good, Zainab is talking now and not crying, which means this is doing something to her." And we really hope that something happened to her will happen to other people as well. And to be honest, this is like, I'm willing to take this journey and hoping to help other people as well.
MashaAllah. Your strength and courage throughout this whole process, your healing throughout this whole process, will inspire others to know that they can also face this reality head on as well. So you are such an inspiration for others, and you know, the beautiful name Zainab as well represents the person that you are. So thank you so much for showing this and pushing forward with this documentary. Coming back to yourself, Nathan, why is this film so important?
So, I mean, for us, this film, you know, like I said, it's not just the history of one person or one family. It's playing on a whole generation, and actually a generation, okay, we lived under Saddam, but even beyond, there is trauma and there is suffering going on, not just in Iraq, in other places. And when I started out with this film with Zainab, I felt like I'm dealing with a lot of trauma, and you know, with the previous film as well. I felt perhaps the best way I could actually be a more effective filmmaker, a more effective director, was to also train as a psychotherapist and a counselor. And I actually ended up kind of undergoing training in order to be able to effectively deal with trauma and subjects that, you know, have trauma, have experienced trauma. So the process of kind of trauma storytelling and healing that goes also beyond the character on screen. It touches audiences themselves. You know, that's the thing about catharsis, is it's a contagious thing. It's something that we feel audience will benefit from, regardless of whether they're Iraqi or non-Iraqi, or you know, they're not a girl that has lost her father at the age of 6. So it's kind of, you know, the process of storytelling. It's a very powerful thing, and we as human beings have been telling stories for thousands of years for that very reason, that stories themselves, they carry wisdom, but they also offer a process by which we can comprehend what's happened, accept what's happened, and heal.
Amazing, phenomenal. It's interesting you said you went down that route of training to help and support, because I guess it also helped and support you as well through this. Coming back to you, Sister Zainab, so you briefly mentioned that there'll be a trip to Iraq pretty soon, where you're going to go to one of the captive areas, the prisons. Who are you hoping to meet moving forward? Is there particular people, particular sites that you're hoping to go towards?
Yeah, well, because it's a question I wanted to ask my father, like, what made you do this and why did you leave us? And because he's not there to answer this question, so I thought to follow his footsteps and meet people who can put these jigsaw pieces together for us and build and paint this picture for me, to make me understand and to throughout this journey. So people like people that knew him throughout his life, my brother Muhammad, people who knew him from the Baghdad American College, the high school where he used to go, and he was a completely different person. Like, he wasn't religious and he wasn't into religion or anything. He was like, he liked going out, he liked partying, he liked mixing with people and like being 15, 16 years old. And then to change suddenly like this. So I found people, and I am going to meet those people who witnessed this change in him from this young man partying and going out and dancing and all this, to this man who took it like so much higher level to think about his nation and to sacrifice himself and his family for his nation. So I'm meeting and seeing people from different stages of his life, like some of them from university, from the village he practiced for a year, the hospital that he was taken from, the prison as well, his companion in prison who stayed with him for 3 weeks and shared the same blanket with him for 3 weeks, to hear their stories, to hear who this man was. And yeah, so different people that they can put these jigsaw pieces together for me.
Alhamdulillah. I mean, this, you know, you meeting all these people is kind of connecting all those dots and filling in some of those missing gaps, so you get a better understanding of his transition from, you know, why he did this, understanding why he did it, but the man that was standing there that wanted to make that attempt of the assassination of this tyrannic ruler. So, and then get a better understanding of your father in his mindset as well. Alhamdulillah. Brother Matham, so talk to us about the process of making this documentary, this film. How were you going to make the film creatively?
So it's a very good question. So this has been part of a development process that we've gone through. I mean, you know, we started out obviously with Zainab's story, and what happened very early on was this idea that there are, you know, memories, and there are, you know, kind of constructed memories or reconstructions that we want to do, but I didn't want to do them in that kind of bulk standard TV reconstructions that you see sometimes in documentaries. So I thought, well, what we will do is actually reconstruct them as memories, reconstruct them as kind of observed scenarios, try to use light and shadow, and so there's a certain amount of dramatization or reconstruction that will happen alongside the documentary, the following Zainab's journey, and then integrating a lot of archive. So you know, somehow we go into this archive material as part of that journey, and I guess it's kind of it's a process of kind of weaving all these layers together to tell a story that's about one personal journey, but also about a whole nation, and opening it up to somehow understanding that period of our dark period of our history in Iraq.
Thank you. It's interesting to get into your mindset of how you're going to piece it all together and you know, almost hypnotize, entrap the audience as well, to almost feel that emotion as you're going through that journey. Is there a particular intended audience that you're aiming this towards?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there is the you know, the Iraqi audience that will be the first to be able to connect with this. But, you know, like I said before, it's a story that I feel will, inshallah, transcend those boundaries, transcend the culture and the language and the national boundaries, and be able to touch people all around the world. I found, like with my last film, it's the festivals, opening them up at festivals and being able to take the film to audiences in cinemas and in festivals, that all of a sudden people start to see things in the film, and then the press starts to write. And so in that way, the audience, I think, will find its audience. So in that way, I think the film will find its audience. The other thing is obviously broadcasters. So we've been approached by a number of broadcasters for this. And then that happens after that festival run. So it's a gradual process. You know, we have this 3 to 5 year strategy on the film, and you know what will happen once the film is finished, inshallah.
Inshallah, that's amazing. So your audience engagement really, and what do you hope really to be the social impact? Do you have, going to you first, Sister Zainab, yourself, what would you hope that people get the message? What do you think the social impact will be?
Well, as I said, the social impact of this is it's got different social impacts. Like, number one is, this is a history of a nation, and this nation should not forget their history, because now these days I do see people forgetting Saddam's time, and they say, oh, this is all day, just forget it and open a new page and history is gone. But it does hurt me when I hear people say this, because our history is who our next generations, and if we forget our history, then history will repeat itself without even realizing that we're letting history to repeat itself. So I think 40 years of Saddam is not something that should be forgotten, or it should be, okay, history is gone, let's start new. So that's one impact, is to honor our history and to like learn from what happened and never let it happen again. That's one. And then also, again, I go back to the childhood trauma. So we're thinking of going to Iraq and film and gather those who are my age, older, younger, who lost both of their parents or lost one parent, and then do like a big gathering and start talking to them and tell them about the film and talk to them about how they can express their feelings and how they can talk about their trauma that happened to them, and they shouldn't keep it buried in, because if you don't tackle your trauma and if you don't talk about it, it will keep hurting you until you open that box. And that's something that we are thinking of doing, me and Maytham, when we go to Iraq after filming. And I don't know how it's going to be received by those people, but I'm willing to take the risk and share my experience with them, to give them the opportunity and to open the door for them to share their experience as well. So that's my side.
SubhanAllah, beautiful. So that's courage and bravery from you, sister. Honestly, alhamdulillah. Brother Maytham, I know you've got to leave another prior engagement, but just your final words before you leave us.
So just to continue actually the point that Zainab was making to a certain extent. So we in Iraq, and I think a lot of Middle Eastern societies, these pains and traumas, quite often they're not things that are expressed. There's a certain amount of, I suppose, shame to say, okay, I feel so much pain, I feel hurt by what has happened. And what happens is, when one person starts to say it, when one person starts to express that actually this was a very painful time from the past and this is how it felt, all of a sudden something very beautiful happens, which is other people start to discuss, oh, I felt something similar to this in this way, and so this is a kind of a process that we're going through now. As Zainab talks about her own trauma, other people are opening up and sharing their own stories with us, which has been great. And there's a certain process of healing that happens in that as well. So even though the film hasn't finished yet, we haven't finished making this film, there is actually an impact that's already happening from us being able to share our stories and allow the space for the person listening to us or to engage with their own experience as well.
SubhanAllah. Brother Nathan, thank you so much for joining us. I know you do have to
Thank you so
leave.
much. I'm sorry I have to leave. It's just something I had prearranged. Thank you.
That's okay. Thank you for joining us and
Assalamu
imparting your
alaikum.
wisdom.
Assalamu
Wa alaikum
alaikum.
salam. Sister Zainab, so just myself and yourself now. So I'd like to sort of talk about the strategy now, because as Nathan just highlighted, the film is still unfinished. And of course, we're going to talk a bit more about what's going to take to finish it. But is there like a distribution or a marketing strategy or something like that you guys have put together?
Well, yeah, of course. And I think Nathan would be the best to answer this because he's the producer, but I am
Sure.
with him like as an associate producer on this project. So as he was saying, so the film is not finished yet. We still need to go to Iraq and shoot the Iraq section, which is hopefully, inshallah, we're going end of January to shoot this section. And once this section is finished, that we need to put scenes together and see. As Maytham said, we were approached by different TVs to purchase to buy this the film, but of course they don't give anything until they see something. They see like at least like a rough cut, or they see an assemble to be able to release this money. So we are at the moment. That's the plan, to do the filming and then put something together and start the post-production process, which is again applying for post-production funding. And once it's finished, it has its cycle for festivals and then TVs and distribution and sales. So it's a whole process from beginning to end. But the only obstacle is at the moment that we have is that we need the fund to go to Iraq and shoot. So we are short of some money that we need to in order to be able to go to Iraq and shoot for this January. But inshallah, we will sort something out.
So in terms of the completion of the project, what stage are you at now? How much of the project has been completed? And what is left?
So we are in production stage. We finished like, I'd say 25 to 30%. We shot the UK section, as you saw in the teaser. That UK section, we have it now, and we've got like another 25 minutes. We've got 25 minutes from this material, from the UK material. So I'd say like 30% is being done, and then still to do the Iraq shooting as well as the archive. Once we write a script for the archive and see what we need, what kind of archive we need, and also the constructed scenes. So yeah, hopefully we have a timeline. Inshallah, our timeline will finish the film by October 2023 to submit it to festival.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. Inshallah, with the barakah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you'll make this deadline and the support of everybody and people around you. It's so touching to hear you speak, and such an amazing journey that you've been on, such a brave journey that you've been on to get to this stage. You mentioned the archives, and I just want to kind of come back a little bit to that. How's the process of actually getting some of this archive footage? I mean, is it really easily accessible, or do you have to go through a whole rigmarole to get to that?
It's not easy to get the archive. There is a company in Iraq that we are in touch with. They do have some archive, but of course they don't have everything. Archive footage is being, because it was in the TV before the fall of Saddam, and then after that, when after the invasion of America, the archive is being shipped and transferred from one place to another. As far as I remember, there is a lot of it in America. There is a lot of it in Tunisia, I think. I'm not sure, but there are some other archives that we are, inshallah, will be able to get from this company in Iraq, and whatever else that we need, which is missing from this company, we're gonna have to look for it.
Yeah. I just wanted to give some context to our viewers of how difficult the final stages may or may not be. And, you know, to get to this final stage, almost sometimes starting the journey can be easy, like starting that race, those first few steps. And once you get into your stride, you hit many hurdles and roadblocks. The final section of it, getting over that finish line, can sometimes be the hardest part. And this is where, dear viewers, you can come in to help and support to finalize this project, because every stage and every step, it takes money, it takes support, it takes du'as. So first and foremost, the easiest thing that you can do is raise your hands and please keep this project in your du'as. Please keep Sister Zainab and Brother Maitham in the du'as, because this is a life-changing documentary. It's going to help and heal so many people. So Sister, where can people find you? How can people get in touch? How can they support you?
Well, we've got the production company. Our production company is called Seventh Heaven Studios, seventhheavenstudio.com. And if anyone would like to contact us or anything, I don't know, how can we put this on your screen, the address? It's either on that seventhheavenstudios.com that you can go on it, and then there is contact us, then people can contact us, or if anyone would like to contact me or Maitham, we're more than happy. I think you've got our contact details, so if anyone would like to contact you, then to get through to us, by all means.
Definitely. You know, if you'd like to contact Sister Zainab or Maitham directly, you drop us an email, info@ahlulbayt.co.uk, and we'll pass on your email and details to brother and sister if you'd like to speak directly to them. As Sister said, there is a website that's on and it's live, www.seventh, so 7 as the letter, th, heavenstudios.com. Now this website's up and running if you want to help and support in whatever way you can, because this is really, really important. You can see it on your screen right now. This is the website. Many details of the projects that is going on right now. Some of the quotes you can see from the press, who are really, you know, there's a lot of excitement and a lot of support for this project. You can see some of the awards that the company have won, international film festivals for previous projects and ongoing projects as well. And you can see many credits on there, some amazing images, some heartbreaking images that they're putting together. So we applaud you. We applaud everything that the company are doing. www.seventh, so 7 the number, th, heavenstudios.com. That's where you can support. If you'd like to contact Sister Zainab directly or Brother Maitham directly, please do drop us an email at info@ahlulbayttv.co.uk, or just go to our website and fill in one of the request forms, and we will definitely pass the details on to the respected sister and respected brother. As we're coming to the end of the show, Sister Zainab, I'd just like to end with yourself and your final message to our viewers.
Again, as I said, it's nation history, and Saddam, from all dictators, is to me, maybe to others as well, he was the worst of dictators, and that history should not be forgotten, and we should keep remembering this history. It's just like how it happens with other nations when they were forced for years, and then they keep remembering their history, and no one can say anything to them because this is their history, and they should they should remember their history. No one can forget it, because if we do, as I said, something else will happen, and we have to learn from our past and move on. Of course, move on, but of course, learn from our past and honor our past. And as Maytham said, there is not only one Zainab, there is so many other Zainabs out there, and it's a dark history that we should not forget.
Definitely. It takes a certain type of person, a certain type of character, somebody with strength and courage and bravery to kind of step into this realm, to uncover their past, to find and dig for answers that are buried and hidden. And Sister Zainab, you have that courage and you have that bravery, and I applaud you. Personally, I applaud you for going on this journey. On behalf of all our viewers, that I really thank you for uncovering this forgotten history, this history that is so dark and so varied. So I wish you and I pray for all of your success, inshallah, with completion of this project, inshallah. I very much look forward to watching the final product.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Okay, dear viewers, it's been an amazing show, very emotional and very, painful to some degrees. Like I said, the support is needed and required. So please, if you could dig deep, even a message of support or a message of thanks, and definitely in your prayers and your du'as for this project to succeed in every way, shape or form. So it's www.7th with the letter number 7 heavenstudios.com. If you'd like to reach any of the participants of this project, you can contact us directly through the Ahlulbayt TV website or email us info@ahlulbayttv.co.uk. We thank all of our guests today, and we thank everybody that's watched. Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much. We will see you the same time next week for another show, Ahlulbayt Life, where we will actually be looking at how to tackle childhood traumas with a couple of experts in our studio. We'll see you then, 9 p.m. On Ahlulbayt Live. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.